Hello, my name is Reverend Philip Shanker of the Family Federation for World Peace and Unification. And it's my privilege to introduce you to this lecture series, an introductory series on the divine principle, ignorance. We can say that people are composed of two aspects, internal and external, or mind and body. Likewise, the intellect consists of two aspects, an internal and an external aspect. In the same way, there are two types of ignorance, internal and external. Now, internal ignorance refers to our ignorance about the fundamental questions of life. Who am I? Where did I come from? Why am I here? External ignorance refers to our ignorance of our environment, the nature of matter, how our physical body, human body, works. These comprise together these two aspects of ignorance. Now, through religion, humanity has followed the path of searching for internal truth. At the same time, through science, humanity has pursued the external truths. In this way, we've sought to understand how our physical body works, the nature of matter, and how the universe operates, the laws and principles, and to improve the conditions of life for all people. Now, these two endeavors, pursuing different realms of the human experience, have seemed at times in the course of their development to take positions that were contradictory or even irreconcilable. But these are not necessarily contradictory. And in fact, for humankind to completely overcome the two aspects of ignorance and fully realize the goodness which our original mind desires, at some point in history, there must emerge a new truth which can reconcile religion and science and resolve their problems in an integrated understanding. This is one of the missions of the new truth, to bring about this harmonized view of life and in that way empower us to realize a world of goodness. What else can we say about the mission of the new truth? Well, first of all, this truth should be able to lift humanity through a broad and unified vision into a new age, a new world. At the same time, the truth should be able to embrace all historical religions, ideologies, and philosophies, be able to understand these varying perspectives, provide the big picture, and show the relevance of each part, and in this way, bring harmony and unity among them. Also, this new truth should be able to empower human beings to overcome the contradiction within our nature and guide fallen people to return to our original state and regain our original nature and value. Now, this is precisely what the divine principle has the power to achieve. This teaching is not the result of philosophical inquiry or academic library research. It is revealed understanding. It came as a revelation. It is presented in a format relevant to people of today and approaches the problems of life in much the same way that any modern person would approach a problem. The divine principle is expressed in three major parts. The first, which we'll hear today, is the principle of creation, a blueprint for the purpose, the structure, and the function of life in the universe, how the universe was designed to function, its principles and nature, the nature of its first cause, the creator, whom we call God. And in the midst of that, a deeper understanding of the purpose and value of our own human life. The second part of the principle is the human fall, to understand exactly how the contradiction arose that has undermined our ability to realize these dreams and why the world of our reality is so different than the world of our dreams. Thirdly, the principle of restoration, showing how, through history and the process of reaching out through religious understanding and truth, God has worked to restore humankind back to our original position, original value, and original nature. Now, as I said, this truth is revealed understanding. Its purpose is ultimately to resolve the fundamental problems of human life and the universe. And it is the teaching of Reverend Sun Myung Moon. Principle of creation. We begin from those fundamental questions about human life and the universe. Throughout history, people have anguished over these fundamental questions. This is because no one has fully understood the root principle, the blueprint by which humanity and the universe were originally created. To approach this topic properly, it is not enough for us to simply examine the resultant reality, the world that we can measure externally. The proper way to address this, the fundamental question, is that of the causal reality. Problems concerning human life and the universe cannot be solved without first understanding the nature of God. So section 1 is the dual characteristics of God and the created universe. So how can we then know the divine nature of the invisible God? Well, one way to fathom God's deity is by observing the universe that He created. Just as we come to know the character of an artist through his works, so just as we can understand Van Gogh by his paintings or Shakespeare by his writings, we can understand something about the Creator, the cause, by looking at the world He created, the visible effect. Therefore, St. Paul wrote in Romans 1:20, ever since the creation of the world, His invisible nature, namely His eternal power, His deity, His godlike nature, has been clearly perceived in the things that have been made. So let's look first then at the common elements in the natural world. We'll begin by pointing out these elements that are found universally in all things. Every entity, first of all, possesses the dual characteristics of yang and yin, or as we would say in the West, positivity and negativity. More fundamentally, however, every entity also possesses another set of dual characteristics, that of outer form and inner quality. Now, the visible outer form resembles the invisible inner quality. The inner quality is called internal nature, while the shape or structure is called our external form. Now, since internal nature and external form refer to corresponding inner and outer aspects of the same entity, then the external form could also be understood as a second internal nature, a visible expression of the internal nature. So the internal nature and external form together constitute dual characteristics. Now let's look at every form of life in the universe in general. Let's look more closely at this. When we go to the most simple forms of life, particles, here on your left. Particles exist as either positive, negative, or neutral because they have both elements within them. They make an electronic magnetic relationship to form the basis of atoms. Atoms then form an electrochemical relationship by sharing an electron with another atom to form the basis of molecules. Molecules form electrochemical relationships to form the basis of matter. Matter arises, and we see in the plant kingdom the dual characteristics of stamen and pistil, or sporophyte, gametophyte. Coming up to animal life, we find that all animals express masculinity, male and female. And then we come, of course, to human beings who have masculine and feminine as the foundation of our existence and reproduction and life. So we can see in every form of life, from simple to complex, this expression of the dual characteristics of masculinity and femininity, or positivity and negativity, two equally valuable yet complementary aspects that allow for the existence and life of each being. Energy seems to act according to a lawful and principled nature. There's some inherent directive aspect that governs how life develops in the universe. When we look at matter, which is composed of energy, once again, we see in the laws of chemistry and physics that each of the elements in the periodic table acts and reacts according to its unique nature. Now, when we see these atoms and molecules come together and forming higher forms of life, such as plants. Plants act also according to a lawful directive element within them. For example, the roots will always grow toward the water. The leaves will always follow the sun. Yet we can't cut open a plant, pull out the law, and now the plant is going to be unclear and undirected. The plant's mind, or its lawful nature, is inherent within the nature of the plant. Likewise, animals. Let's consider closely. Likewise, animals are governed by their animal mind, which is primarily based upon instinct. And human beings have all of these elements. Human beings have all of these elements, and yet we also have a deeper aspect of our mind. So once again, from simple to complex, we see that there is a consistent pattern that every single entity exists with these two sets of dual characteristics. Now let's consider the relationship between God's internal nature and external form and God's original masculinity and femininity. God's original internal nature and original external form each contain the expressions or attributes of original masculinity and original femininity. Within the first cause, God's original internal nature must contain the essences of all the law, principle, plant, inner natures of everything in the universe. And God's original external form must contain the essence of all the matter in the universe, which is itself energy. Likewise, within the Creator, there must be the essence of all the masculine natures in the universe, as well as all the feminine natures in the universe. Now, the masculinity and femininity within the Creator is not some strange or foreign concept, but actually, in the Bible, in Genesis 1:27, it is stated clearly, God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him, male and female. He created them. So, man is not just males, but man is male and female in the image of God. Well, let's stay here. So, to summarize, we can say that God is the subject and the harmonious union of these natures of inner and outer, inner nature and external form. Likewise, God is the harmonious union of masculinity and femininity, which are manifestations or attributes of the qualities of his character and form, respectively. Now, God stands as the subject partner toward the universe, having the qualities of internal nature and masculinity or subjectivity in relationship with the universe, which responds to God and has the more external aspect or is feminine in response to God. This is the only reason we can justify calling God He or calling God our Father. Because while containing both masculine and feminine natures, the position that God takes is the initiating, subject, and internal position, or the masculine position in relationship to the universe. Now, the relationship between God and the universe can be summarized, therefore, thusly. God is the invisible subject partner, and the universe as a whole is an object to God, an object partner. According to the principle of creation, God's dual characteristics manifest themselves in the universe either symbolically or in image as individual embodiments of truth, which constitute the universe. In other words, God expresses himself in his image and likeness, human beings, or symbolically in the rest of the natural world. Let's say one final word about God's nature. What can we say about his inner nature? Well, the Bible tells us that God is a righteous God, a loving God, a long-suffering God, a patient God, etc., etc. But by looking at the textbook of the universe, we can also understand the nature of the Creator by the world that he has made. What is it that allowed chaos to become cosmos? The foundation for this cosmos is that everything has order. There's order. Why is there order? Because everything follows law. And behind these laws are purpose, value, and productivity. So there's principle behind these laws. Order, law, and principle is the foundation for the cosmos. As life arises, we see higher qualities of beauty, truth, and goodness. When we come to the animal world, we see love. But not just the instinctual love that we find in animals. When we come to the human form of life, we find the spiritual capacity to be bonded even after our loved ones have long passed away. The spiritual capacity of heart and love. And when we consider the laws of the universe, they aren't voted on periodically. They are eternal, unchanging, and absolute. Likewise, the true definition of beauty, truth, or goodness is that which is eternally true and universally true. And also the love we seek has the quality of being lasting and eternal. So when we look at the universe, we can recognize the expression of the nature of its creator, a God of order, law, and principle, beauty, truth, and goodness, love and heart, and a God who is eternal, unchanging, unique, and absolute. Now, let's consider Section 2, Universal Prime Energy, Give and Take Action, and the 4 Position Foundation. More about the structure, the laws, and the functionality of the universe. First, Universal Prime Energy. God, the creator of all things, is the absolute reality, not just a God that we evoke whenever we try to explain a mystery, but the essence of life, at the heart of the way life operates and its character and nature. God is eternal, self-existent, and as we've discussed, transcendent of time and space. Now, therefore, the energy for God's existence, the fundamental energy of God's own being, must be absolute, eternal, and self-existent. Because the first cause exists with dual characteristics, that's the foundation, through give and take, for God's own power and existence. But not only is this energy the foundation for God's existence, it is the origin of all energies and forces that allow created beings to exist. We call this fundamental energy universal prime energy. Prime because it's the initial, original force, and universal because it's the energy that allows all beings to be sustained. Now let's consider how this fundamental force relates to the relationality of all things in creation, the principle of give and take action. Through the agency of universal prime energy, the subject and object elements of every entity which come out of God, express God, form a common base and enter into interaction. This interaction in turn generates the forces that every entity needs to exist, to reproduce, and to act. This is how life moves. All of the forces for existence, multiplication, and action are generated by the give and take action between subject and object. So universal prime energy facilitates a common base that allows interaction that create the forces for every entity to exist. This interaction, generating these forces through this process, we call give and take action. The fact is that nothing in the universe lives by itself or for itself. The Bible says that wherever 2 or more are gathered in his name, he will be in their midst. And Jesus said, ask, and it will be given. Knock, and the door will be opened. Seek, and you will find. Likewise, Jesus said, by the judgment you pronounce, you'll be judged. And the measure you give is the measure you will receive. Next, let's consider the principle of origin, division, union, action, and the process by which all beings come into existence. The process in which out of God, the origin, 2 entities are separately manifested and reunited into oneness by making a common base having give and take action, and bringing about a new being is called origin, division, union, action. And it's the process by which all beings come into existence.